How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the last of the Excel sort of Eller must-knows of Excel. So let's just jump on in and kind of get going through here. And again, I've started from that client credit card data from the very beginning of that. So if you're working along throughout the videos, please open it from scratch or re-download it. So the first topic is sorting. It's just an easy way to sort of get your data in a way that you want to look at it. So we can start simple here. So let's say I had this data and I wanted to sort it by the names being alphabetical. So I want our top clients alphabetically, something like that. So if you go to the data tab, you'll see this thing over here. It looks pretty consistent, I think, on Macs and PCs, called sort. So if you click outside of it, like if you're not highlighted on anything, it should go and say like, all right, this can't be applied. So you need to select your data. I usually just select it all, so I'll just drag across the columns, then you do sort. And then this looks a little bit different on Macs and PCs. So clearly on a PC, it looks like this. You just choose what you want. So what do I want to sort? Well, I want to sort on name. And then how do I want to sort it? A to Z. So if you want it alphabetical A to Z, you can just hit OK. And now, right, it goes by name alphabetical. On the Mac, so if you do this, it looks kind of like this, except you have like little sort of tiny arrows over on the right and left for where these drop downs are, but it's kind of the same thing. And you might have to check my data has header or something like that. If you want it reverse alphabetical, you can do Z to A and do OK. And so it does it alphabetically. You can also do it numeric if for some reason you wanted like the lowest client IDs or something like that. Again, you could just do sort and let's check client ID and let's do smallest to largest and do OK. And it puts the smallest number on the top and sorts it. So that can be useful. That's sort of an easy one. I don't know why we'd want a client ID, but let's say we go to the billing and payment sheet. And well, let's say I wanted maybe the credit limits. So if I wanted to quickly identify the lowest or the highest. So one thing to be careful is, and Excel knows this, like if you just click on this and try to do sort, it's going to say like, whoa, right? Do you really just want to sort this? Because if we only sorted column B, then it's going to mismatch everything. And so Excel knows that. And you could override it by doing continue, but I wouldn't. So I would expand the section. That's going to do, oh, it only does it to here. That's not good. So what we want to do is, to make sure everything's matched up, I always want to select all of the data and then do sort. And this one's kind of odd. So we can do my data has headers, but notice that it has sort of two sets of headers. So it's only reading this as the header. A couple ways you could do it. Well, I know that credit limit is in column B. So I could go and find column B and then just do that. The problem is that I think it's going to put this at the bottom. Let's try it. Let's just do smallest to largest. We'll do OK. Yeah, see, it treats that header as a number, and I'm embedded it put it at the bottom. So let's practice undo, Control or Command Z. And then what you can do is just highlight across, and then again, this is good practice, Control or Command Shift down to go all the way to the bottom. Don't drag, for the love of goodness. Then just do sort. And now, again, my data has headers. You can see it sort of drop down, and you'll say, okay, I want the credit limit, and let's do largest to small. Let's do smallest to largest. All right, so in the data, it looks like, I did client ID. I'm dumb. Let's try this again. Sort. Come on, Gray. Credit limit, smallest to largest. Hit OK. So the smallest people in my data have $330. Maybe that's like a college student. That's really low. That's really low. Let's see what the highest is. Let's go largest to smallest, and we'll do OK. All right. Someone's got a $33,000 limit, which is pretty considerable. Let's go just more practice in the demographics. Let's say for some reason you want maybe, I don't know, all the women together. So again, highlight all your data. You could, since this is all together, you could do the drag, or I do Control A, and we'll highlight it all. Then we'll do sort. And again, we'll do sort by, let's do gender. And if you want females at the top, you'll do A to Z. If you want males at the top, you'll do Z to A. So I'll do females at the top, hit A to Z. And this is a lot of data, so you could kind of scroll if you wanted to split it by men. I'll show you later how this is way easier. But if you wanted to find the first man, you could click in here and then do Control or Command F. Or some Macs, like your search bar is up here, PCs it's here, then just type make sure you do male. And if you hit find next, notice, well, male is in there. So we need the capital because the men start with that. So if you do the options, it's kind of similar on a Mac. You might have to play around just a little bit and do match case. Do find next, it'll take you to the first male, something like that. Just if you wanted to split it. Again, I'm just trying to show you as many tricks as possible. Let's say I wanted to do 2 different ways. Let's say I wanted the women on top, and then I want with like all of the educations together as well for the women and the men. So what we can do is add a level. So I have it by gender, and then let's do add a level. And let's do education. And then A to Z, Z to A, however you want to do it. And we'll do okay. And now it does female, and then all the graduate school women are now together. All right, and so as you scroll kind of down, you'll notice like all of them are together. And I'm going to do it the fast way. And once we get then all the high school, and then all the university. And you can do as many levels as you want. Let's see, let's expand the section. So if I again did sort, let's say if then you also wanted, I don't know, by marital status, something like that. And I'm in the wrong. All right, so if I did marriage status, I'll do okay. And now it's like all the women with graduate school that are married. So it does it a lot. And you can play around with, like, let's say you did it like me and you just messed up the ordering. You can move the ordering, I believe. Max, I'm pretty sure you can drag. For PCs, and you get to click these arrows. So let's say I clicked that down and I hit OK. And it looks like it did nothing, but it's because we already sorted already. All right, so that is sorting. It's okay. Really, the better one is filtering. So I love filtering because I think it's a lot quicker. And so same thing, let's always just select all of our data, Control or Command A, or you can highlight however you want. And then instead of sort, you go over here and you click filter. And it looks like nothing happened if you're not paying attention. But notice if I click off here, these drop-down arrows show up. Right, and if you can click on any of them, it'll show you everything in this list. So for age, I can already sort here. That's why I love filter. It's like, oh, let's sort smallest to this. And like, so you can sort within the filter, so it's kind of the same thing. But it shows you down here all the ages that I have in my data. So I have 21, 22, 23, and all there, and all the way up to 79. And so you can choose which ones you want to see. If you want to see them all, leave it normal. Let's say I only wanted to look at, I don't know, 21 to 25-year-olds. So I'll just do these 3. And if I hit OK, you'll notice it doesn't look like anything happened, but if you scroll down, it ends after 25. And it's telling you, like, and it reminds you kind of at the very top, it's like, hey, like, this filter is active. And that's why you'll notice also here on the left, whenever you have a filter, it's blue. And so this is like telling you what row all these things are in the real data. And so let's say I scroll down here, like these are like really far down here. Let's get off of that filter. So a couple ways to do that. To get off the filters all, you can just click on this and you'll get notice if you scroll back up, they're all gone. I don't love that approach because I just don't think it's useful because I always keep the filters on. But yeah, you can just go back and like check the box, like select all or whatever you want. So, let's say I wanted to look at only university degree people. So I could click on this drop down. Clearly I don't want the blanks. So I'm going to click select all first and I'll get rid of them all and say, okay, I only want the university people. So you just check that box and you hit OK. And now it's only going to show us those are the university degree. And you can copy this and paste it onto a new sheet and then you have like, oh, only the university data. But again, I'll show you how to do that quicker later on in this video. So again, let's say I want university and graduate school. So I'll just check them both and they both pop up. So I'm going to sort of do this and do select all. One other cool thing in here is if there's like a bunch of different things, if you just want to contains, you can just type something like a university. And you can just do OK. And it's only, again, going to show university. So that's not useful here because we really don't have that many content or that many sort of things. But if we had like, I don't know, 50 different things and I don't know, a couple of them had a common name. And you can use the text filters, contain, stuff like that. We talked about those sort of in the earlier videos. Let's see. Let's do, I don't know, one more. Like, let's do, I want the default people. So I'm going to do, let's try this. I've never done this. And it doesn't work again for our duplicate headers, so I'm going to undo that and I'll scroll across. Hey, what are you doing here? Scroll across, Control or Command Shift down, good practice, and again, we'll hit the filter. We have to scroll up with the sidebar. Let's say I only wanted to see the people that defaulted. Alright, maybe I wanted just data on defaulters versus non-defaulters, and I wanted to spread it up. This would be kind of a quick way to do that. So there's literally hundreds or thousands of different things that you could do here. Maybe you're looking for like a specific credit ID, like you could type in, like I want to look at 5878 or something like that. It doesn't have that in the data, so maybe 585, and then 8. Not in there. Let's do 585. Okay, it shows up twice in there. Yeah, so a lot of things you can do with filters. I like filters; they're pretty cool, pretty easy to use. So that ends sort of the first topic. Again, a lot of things you can play there. I'm going to get rid of this, so I'm going to do select all. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of the filters that way. We can kind of go back. Okay, so conditional formatting. Pretty cool. I don't actually see it used that much. I wish it would be, because you can make like ugly things in the data look really, really nice. And it's really simple. And so it's a lot of it. So where we're going to find it is first go to the Home tab, and you should see it up here under conditional formatting. It's just using sort of colors to make life a little bit easier. And I'm color deficient, so I actually think it makes life a little easier. And so what we can do here is, let's say I wanted to look or identify, I don't know, maybe the top 10. Let's say top 10 credit limits, and they're all going to show up here because I have this sorted already. But so that's nice because I'll show you what happens. So we'll do conditional formatting, and there's a bunch of different options. We'll walk through maybe each of these just really quickly. And so you can do like a rule, like let's highlight everything greater than, let's do all of them greater than 10,000 or something like that. So you can click on this, and then it says, okay, what do you want it greater than? Well, we talked about it. Like, let's highlight everything greater than. Let's do a cutoff here. Let's do everything. Let's do 25,000. 25,000, and then if we find those, what do we want to do with them? Well, a high credit limit might be a good thing. So you might do like a green fill with green text. Again, you can play around with it and just do okay, and it just easily highlights it. Because we clicked on the column, it's reading this as greater than that. An easy way to get rid of this is if you go to conditional formatting, and if you go the rules, so you can do clear rules. You don't want to do the entire sheet, but just the selected cell, and it kind of goes back. So that's pretty cool. Let's do top 10, same thing. So let's do, again, we'll select this column, and I'm going to do home, conditional formatting. So instead of like a rule that like you pick, you can do dates, and you can also highlight duplicates or stuff like that, or do some, we'll play around with this more rules later. But we have a top kind of rule. And so we can do top 10, top 10%, bottom 10, bottom 10%, above the average, below the average. And even though these say top and 10, like you can change them. So let's do top, instead of 10, let's do top 10 first. And you can actually change it. Let's say I want actually the top 20. And same thing, I want to do green fill. And it kind of gives me a preview. And so we do okay. And it shows us. Let's do top 10%. So rather than that one, we can do top 10%. All right, and so top 10%, what do we want to do with it? Well, we want, again, and you can do whatever the hell you want. Like maybe like yellow. I hate yellow. I love yellow, but I hate that yellow. Oh, we can do green fill and do okay. And so it highlights quickly the top 10%. And since we've sorted it, it doesn't really help us that much. So let's do the same thing. And you can do these on multiple ones. So let's do bottom 10% as well. Bottom 10%. We'll make that red, right? We'll do okay, and let's see what happens. So let's go to the very bottom. All right, so all the bad ones, or all the low credit limits are now in red, or the bottom 10%. And so, not useful when we already have it sorted, to be honest, but maybe you want to look at bill amounts. So let's just look at the bills. So highlight across and Control or Command Shift down. Let's do the same thing. So let's do conditional forwarding, top 10. So let's do top 10%. And again, let's make the good ones the green fill, or the high credit limits a green fill. We'll do okay. And then when we're scrolling through here, they're going to all be at the top. Well, kind of at the top. So you can kind of see, like, our high credit limit people, well, they also had higher bill amounts. Well, that makes sense, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Let's do the bottom 10, right? You can do multiple ones. So again, I'll highlight all those. Conditional formatting, we'll do top 10, but we'll do bottom 10%. All right, we'll do red fill. That's fine with me. All right, and so it goes through each of the columns, and it's showing us the top 10, right? Well, this person has a $23,000 limit, and they don't have any money. They don't have any bill, and, well, they aren't paying it. Essentially, they have this credit card, and they're not even using it. And it's really easy for me to see that now that I have it sort of color-coded, which I didn't have in the past. Let's see. If you want to, again, let's get rid of these rules. So if you want, let's get rid of them all. So I'm going to clear the whole sheet. So let's do conditional formatting, and let's do, actually, I want to show you another quick trick. So let's say you still want the bottom 10, but not the top 10. So again, if you highlight it all and then you go to, let's see, home, conditional formatting, we can't use clear rules because it only gives us the whole sheet or a cell, and it would get rid of both of them. But if you do manage rules, it shows you like, oh, you have this bottom 10 and top 10, and let's say I don't want the top anymore. So if you just highlight it and click on delete rule, you hit apply, and it gets rid of it. So you can kind of pick and choose which one you kind of want to do. Another one, so again, we're just kind of going through here. Let's move over to payment amounts. I don't know if that you think that makes it easier. Let's go to a different one. I don't want to bore you, so let's keep things going on here. So I'm going to get rid of these filters first. So let's go back to the data tab and get rid of our filters. We have all our data. And then we're going to highlight all this, so it's all together. So I'm going to do a Control or Command A. And then, let's just focus on age. So I'll click on the age column. Again, sorry. Let's do conditional formatting, and then data bars. So this is if you want to see kind of like a bar graph. I've never used this, to be honest, but you can pick the color. So these top ones are kind of gradient fills. And so I'm just going to look at one. So if I do a blue bar, so this is like a bar graph. The further it gets out, the higher it is. Well, we have our low ages at the top here, so let's scroll down. Notice as the age gets older, that bar gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until the very bottom, it's going to be the biggest bar. So again, I'm going to let's go to the bottom quickly. So I'll click here, Control Command Shift down, and you can kind of see what's going on. Maybe that doesn't make as much sense because we sorted it. So let's do it in the client ID. So let's select client ID. We'll do conditional formatting. Let's do a data bar, and hell, let's do a solid fill. So rather than a gradient one, let's do red. You'll notice, so now it's like pretty easy to kind of see like where the big ones are, like high. And again, we don't care about like client IDs, but if we were using this for bill or something like that. Yeah, so a cool thing you can do is also conditional formatting. So you can do that. If you do more rules, you can actually click. So if you do show bar only and you hit OK, it'll get rid of the numbers. So if you don't want to see the numbers, if you just want to see a graph, note they're still in there. So if I click on there in my command bar, I still see the number up there. And if you double click, it pops back up there. Just a cool little trick. So again, I'm going to do manage the rules, and let's get rid of this one. Let's delete the rule. Let's go ahead and just delete them both. Hit apply. Okay. And then here, let's do color scales. I think that's fine. So I'll just clear all the rules from the selected sheet. So I like that one. I don't use bars as much. Again, you can if you really want. It's sort of your personal preference and what you think looks good, or if your boss tells you specifically what to do. But you can use color scales as well. So let's go back to the billing and payment sheet. I'm going to clear all the conditional formatting on this sheet. So let's do clear rules, clear from the selected sheet. Hey, clear rules. Oh, I did cells, duh. And then do, let's just say we only care about September, and you want like a range. So within September, or you honestly could do it all of this. Let's do it all. Let's do payments just to make your guys' life a little bit more creative. So if you did conditional formatting and you did color scales, and so you can set it up to be like this, and again, there are a bunch of different ones. You can choose your own colors if you want, but it says the green, white, red scale. So if you clicked on that, the red is the bad or the low, and the green will be the high. So again, how we sorted this data earlier, I'm assuming we have more green at the top, but you can kind of see like where in the data these things stand. And again, it does it within each of the months. So let's see, I'm just gonna make sure that's true. So I'm gonna do clear it from the sheet, and let's just do September, conditional format. And you don't have to do this if you don't want, it's sort of up to you. Yeah, it's sort of the same thing. It's saying like, this is a pretty high credit limit, and here's a pretty low one. And then these sort of neutralish colors, again, you can probably see those better than me because I'm color deficient, are sort of, they pop, or sort of middle ground more. And you can actually sort these on these if you want. So I'm gonna, let's see, I'll highlight all my data. Control or Command Shift down. Let's look at September. So we're gonna do, let's go back to data. And you can do sort, and then if you choose September, all right, you can click on the values if you want and do largest to smallest, or why don't we do color? All right, you can actually do the color and then tell it, right? Okay, do this and say like, all right, oh, I pick on the color there. Huh. You're supposed to let me sort on that. I was just going to play around with this. Sorry, so September. Oh, I'm dumb. So yeah, now if we do cell color red. Yeah, so what I was doing, I'm sorry, I was looking at September over here. No problem. We all make mistakes. I probably make more than anybody. I try not to make them more than once. So again, that's with the bill amounts of this September and cell color, and say like, okay, let's put the red on the bottom. Do okay. And it puts those down here. I don't love this one as much because it's just putting all of these at the bottom, and then it doesn't do much for the middle shades in there, and you have to pick. So I don't do that very often, but it is possible. So I'm going to undo that. So Control or Command Z. I'm going to do it a couple different times. So yeah, and then we'll do home, conditional formatting, and then we'll clear the rules from the entire sheet. Okay, the last one, just a cool one that I think is interesting. Let's do age, and we'll do again conditional formatting. But what if you want to use pictures instead? This could be cool with like sales or revenue or something like that. You can do directional. Oops. All right, so you can do directions. You can do shapes, indicators, ratings, stuff like that. There's so many you can play around with. So I kind of like these two. Like check mark means good. X means bad. There's caution in the middle. It's just you have to know like how you want to split the data. If you use these three, you're going to have to only be able to split it 3 ways. If you use these, 4 ways. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arrows. And so you kind of have more of what you can do. So I'm okay with 3. So I'll click on these 3 indicators, and then the bottom 33% will have the bad. And then the middle will have the yellow, and then the top will have the top 33% will have that. And you can play around with that. So I'm pretty sure if you do manage rules on this, and then if you click edit rule, you can change it, right? So let's say I want this when it's greater than 90%, and I only want the warning when it's like bottom 10% or something like that. Do okay, and then apply, and it'll update. So it'll only show us, it'll update like bottom 10%. Again, I have these all in order, so it doesn't make sort of much sense. Okay, that's enough of the conditional formatting. So the big ones that we want to make sure that we get covered are the Vlookup, Xlookup, index match. So this builds on the last video, which is, I think, the most useful, because right now, if I don't know those things, it's hard for me to link these sheets. And so we've talked about this a lot in the last one, is I have this client ID, and then I have all this information on them, but I also have that information on them over here. So let's clear this conditional formatting just to not distract us. So go to home, conditional formatting, clear rules, and selected cells. All right, and so right now client ID, and then I have all these. I want them combined. Like Or same thing here, like I have my top 10 and their names, but I don't have any of their information, which is just kind of a pain. And so we want to be able to connect them. So the easiest way I prefer, if you have the newest version of Excel, if you're an Arizona student, please go download it from the bookstores, update the 365, it's free. I prefer Xlookup. For some reason, employers love the word Vlookup, so that's where we're going to start, and then I'll show you what Xlookup. So let's say I want three things from these people. Let's say I want that my top 10's credit limit, their average bill amount, and then I want their average payment amount. And hell, let's say I also want their age. We'll make life a little bit more difficult. Nope, I'm going to make it even more. Let's say I want their education. And I want their age. So we're just, a lot of this is just practice. And so credit limit, where am I going to find that? Well, that's on the billing and payment sheets. And then bill amount, I need the average. Well, I don't have that yet. I'm going to have to create it. And then my education and age stuff are over here. So if that unique identifier is on the left, on both cases, the VLOOKUP is really, it's kind of easy. It's relatively easy. So notice I have client ID on the left and client ID on the left. So this one's going to be fine. Right? I'm not super concerned with it. So let's do one of the VLOOKUPs. So let's do equals. We'll start with VLOOKUP. And then you can click on this if you want. And then it tells us, okay, Gray, what are you looking up? Okay, I want to look up this number, right, their client ID, and then comma, where do you want us to look at it, and that data that you want back has to also be in that range. And so I'm going to go to billing and payments, all right, and I know that my client ID is here, it's on the left, which is key, and then credit limit is here. And so, to be honest, I don't need anything else. I don't need any more of this data, but I need to make sure I get it all in there. So highlight that whole set, Control or Command Shift down, and then I'm going to double click this formula down, but I don't want this range to change. So I need to lock these cells. See why this is such a pain in the ass? All right, I hate the VLOOKUP button. That's whatever. So to lock it, you have to hit the function button. It should be at the bottom left part of your keyboard. So it's Fn, and then F4. Oh no, mine's not going to work. I'm going to have to do it manually. Function F4. That stinks. Oh. Let's try this again. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go back to billing and payments. And then again, I have to go to the top. So highlight across these two. Control or Command Shift down. And then function F4. Huh, mine's not working. That stinks. Okay, we'll have to manually do it. So what I have to do is $ before the A, after the A. And then before the B, after the B. So I'm locking both the row and column for that whole table. So I'm going to click here, I'll go to the end, I'll go comma, and it's saying column index number. So what column is the variable that you want back? So where is our credit limit? Well, we highlighted these two, so it's in column 1, 2. So let's do 2, and then comma, what kind of match do we want? Exact or approximate? Again, these are flipped, I don't know why, but I always use false. You could actually type 0, it's the equivalent of false if you want. I hit enter, and it gives us that in Priscilla's credit limit. And these are probably going to be all relatively similar because these are our top 10, right? And then, again, sorry, I probably went too quickly there. You could drag this down if you wanted, but I wouldn't. Go again to the bottom right corner and double click it. Alright, so that's a pain. The next two that we're going to need, average bill amount, average payment amount. So I don't have those variables yet, so I'm going to have to make them. So I'm going to insert a column here. So I'm going to right click on J, do insert. And let's do, let's see, average, let's just say average bill. Alright, I'm going to show you another trick. I love it. So I'm going to do average pay. Hey, Gray, come on now. Alright, and so to get the average, well, it's equals average. Then I'm just going to highlight that person's all their bill amounts, hit enter, and then I'm going to take it, double click it down, having them all. Now, I could do the same thing for average pay, but notice I have the same amount of months here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on here, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to paste it, and notice I didn't lock anything, so that literally, that formula just moved over and said, well, take the average to the 6 to the left of it. So look, it's from L3 to Q3. Well, L3 over to Q3. And you don't have to do that, but it's just sort of a nice little trick that you get. All right, and so I'm going to do this two different ways. I'm going to get the average bill amount using a Vlookup. I'll show you why this is such a pain in the ass again. And then we'll do, I don't know, let's do an index match for the average payment. We might as well. So again, let's do equals Vlookup. All right, so I'm looking for this client ID, comma, where am I looking for it? And it has to have the average bill amount in there. So I'll go over here. I'll start with client ID. I'll drag all the way over to make sure I've got average bill in there. I'll do a control or command shift down. And again, I'm going to lock this. So please work. Function F4. Damn! It's going to bug me. That's not working. Oh, it's just F4. Let's try F4 if you're not working. So notice it just put the dollar signs in up here. All right, and then comma. This is why this sucks. Okay, what column? You can tell it column index number. What column was average bill amount? So I got to count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now let's hope I haven't hidden anything, or that sucks because it doesn't know that. So then, comma, I'm going to type 0 because 0 means false in Excel. All right, and it does that. All right, so that's a pain. You got to remember, always on the left, you got to lock it, you got to count them. Let's just do the index match. And so when you think about these, it's just kind of backwards. It's the opposite approach of what a Vlookup does. So we'll do equals index, and I'll double click. And the first thing we need to put in is what output do I want back? So I want the credit limit back, right? Or not the credit limit, the average payment amount back. So I'll go back to billing and payments. And here it's so easy. All you got to do is click on the column, whatever variable that is. All right, so I click there. All right, and then I'll do comma. And so the index is the first part. Now we'll do match. All right, open a parenthesis. And like, well, what do you want to look up? Again, we've got to go back to the top client, say, okay, I'm going to look up this client ID, comma, lookup array. Where is it? So again, back over to billing and payments. And this is, again, nice. I don't have to select anything. I just click on A. It's like, it's somewhere in there. Figure it out. And then again, comma, what type of match do we want? So we want less than, greater than, or exact. Again, I like exact, so you can click on it. And then you got to close your match parenthesis and your index parenthesis. All right, so you hit enter. All right, ta-da, it gives it to us. All right, so those are two ways I love the index match. I think it's so much quicker. They just introduced the V. So first, let's change this to dollars. Control or command shift down, just to make this look pretty. Control or command shift down. Let's change it to dollars so it looks kind of nice. And so I loved the index match. I thought it was the best thing ever. And if an employer ever interviews you and is like, oh, do you know how to do VLOOKUPs? You'd be like, yes, I do, but that's what Excel peasants use, right? The real people use the index match, or if your firm's top of the line, you'll have Excel versions with Xlookup, because Xlookup is the best of both worlds. It combines the index match and the VLOOKUP, and it only keeps the good stuff, and it lets us do a whole lot more. And so let's use that for education and age. So I'll do equals, and you'll know if you have it or not if you just start typing XL, Xlookup. If you don't have it, take the 10 minutes, download it from the U of A site for free, and then you're gonna have to restart your computer. I had to restart it twice until it showed up, but it's so much better. And so we'll double click, and it's gonna tell us, all right, this thing should tell us exactly what we wanna look for. And so what do I wanna look up? Well, I wanna look up the client ID, all right? And then comma, well, where do you wanna look that up? So I want the education, so I'm gonna go to the demographic phase now. So like, all right, it's somewhere in this column. All right, and then comma. Well, if you find that client ID in here, what do you want back? Well, I want their education status. And to be honest, you can actually end this right here. Or if you do comma, so you'll notice that's what the brackets here mean. It means they're not necessary. But it's nice to walk through the whole thing. So we do comma, and then if it doesn't find that, well, I want you to return back in A. That'll just mean like that we don't have it. And then comma, again, what type do we want? Again, we want the exact match. These two are relatively interesting. You'll have to watch more on these on your own time because I haven't used them that much. But you can like tell it which way to, oh, so I want the exact match, and then comma. These are the ones like it tells it like how to look, like where do you want to look. This is useful if you have a bunch of different things in a list or anything like that, but we don't, so I'm not even going to put anything there. Oops, sorry, 0. That doesn't matter what I put here, right? I'm just going to close it and see what happens. Enter. Ta-da! That person has a graduate school. And then again, double click it down. All right, so let's practice again with A. Just do an Xlookup. So equals Xlookup. And then I want to look up this person's client ID, comma. Well, I need to go to the demographic sheet. Where am I looking it up? Well, it's somewhere in here, comma. If you find it, give me back their age. All right, and then notice I'm just going to close the parenthesis. All right, and then hit enter, and it does it. So again, I don't have to fill out that information if I don't want it. Again, double click it down. All right, so now I have all that information over here, which is super, 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 super useful. Maybe not for this one, so now let's just do maybe 5 minutes of practice. So let's go to the demographic sheet. Let's add these 3 things. So again, let's add credit limit over here, and then I also want to know if they've ever defaulted. All right, so I'm going to fly through these just because I just want these to be practice. And so I'll do index match for these 2 if you don't have Xlookup, and then I'll do Xlookup for these. If you don't have Xlookup, do index match for all of these if you want. And so I'll do equals index, so open parentheses. Actually, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so again, these are backwards. So what do I want back? So I want the credit limit back. So I have to go back here, and the credit limit is somewhere in this column, which is nice. So comma, and then I gotta remember my match command, open parentheses, like, well, what do I want to look up? So I gotta go back to the demographic sheet, pick client ID, because that's what I'm looking up, and then comma, well, where am I looking it up? Back over to billing and payments, click over here, because the client ID is somewhere in there, and then comma, what type of match? 0. All right, and close our 2 parentheses. All right, it gives us back to us, and again, we can double click it down. Right, I hate that so much. I don't even want to do it again in this video, but I'm going to. So one more time, so equals index, open parentheses. So what do I want back? Average bill amount. So I go back to billing and payments, and average bill amount is in this column. So then comma, type the match command, open parentheses. All right, what are we looking up? What's our sort of unique factor? Again, go back to demographics, client ID, comma. Where am I looking it up? Well, back to the billing and payment. Click on the client ID column, right, column A. And comma, how do I want to match it? I want the exact match. Close my parentheses, hit enter. It's there. All right, so now, again, if I haven't convinced you to update yet, for the love of goodness, pause this video, update. So now Xlookup. So much simpler. So what am I looking up? So I want the average payment. Or no, what am I looking up? I look up values. I'm looking up the client ID, comma. Where am I looking it up? Well, it's on this billing and payment. It's in this column. And then comma. What do you want me to give back? Well, I want the average payment. And then let's do comma. Well, if it doesn't find it, give me parentheses in /A. Close the parentheses. Or quotations. That's the word. All right, we'll close quotes, hit enter, ta-da, there it is. So much better. Last one, so again, Xlookup. All right, my unique identifier, client ID, comma. Where am I looking for it? Well, I'm looking for it in this column, comma. If I find it, what do you want back? Well, I want, have they previously defaulted or not? Again, I'll just close the parenthesis here so you can put whatever you want. Enter, and do no. All right, and again, double click it down. All right, so hopefully you're realizing how amazing that is, because it really is absolutely amazing. And we're going to use all of this stuff for our pivot table here in just a bit. Okay, so that's it for section 3. Now the big one, pivot table. So if you need a little break, I'm going to spend maybe 20 minutes talking about these. I'll start simple, and then we'll kind of go from there. So let's talk pivot tables. Pivot tables, again, are amazing. They can do so much work for us that typically we've done in the past manually. It's just such an easy way to make your life a lot easier, is really what it does. It does all these commands, average, sum. You can sort, filter within them, and present data, find data so much quicker. And so first, a couple things here. So data. So it's going to be under the data tab, or the insert tab, I'm sorry. What you want to start with, there's 2 ways to do this. If you know you're never going to have any more data that you want to add to this table, all you have to do is select all the data. So click in there, Control or Command A, and it highlights it all. And you can do insert a pivot table, and your data range is set. It'll put it on a new worksheet. And so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'll do OK. And then something like this will pop up. But if you ever think there's a possibility of adding more data to it, there's one trick that you might want to do. So I'm going to delete this sheet. So delete. And if you go to the Insert tab and you just click Table, and it's just, where is your table? So make it there and then say that and do OK. You also could actually highlight below it if you want and select a bunch of data, but again, you have to know kind of whenever it is, like where it would ever end, which is kind of hard to know. So it looks like this, and then now that you have this, if you do insert a pivot table, it'll select the name. So I'll show you really quickly on here. Hey, why doesn't it let me name this thing? I'm going to undo really quickly, Control Z. So again, I highlight it, insert a table, it has headers, okay. Oh, you should be able to, oh duh, I missed the tab. You can title this so do whatever you want. So I'll say demo table, yay. Oh, I can't have a space. Demo table. Alright, again, you can name whatever you want. And then do insert pivot table. And it just has the table name. And again, we're going to put it on a new worksheet. If you want it on the current worksheet, you can put it on there, but I generally like it by itself. It looks like this. It looks like crap right now. You kind of got to know what you want. So what I want to look at, a very simple table is, I want to look at the credit limit split by just gender. So I'm going to take my credit limit here. And a lot of students, like, they want to just like, oh, I'll start checking boxes. Please don't do that. Like, it's kind of like Tableau if you ever use it. You want to drag until you get comfortable. So I'm going to take credit limit down to values. And right now it's telling me like, whoa, I added up all the credit limits and your entire data input in there. That doesn't help us. And then I want gender into the row. So I essentially want a different row for each of these. I don't want the sum of credit limit. Maybe you do. You actually can do a bunch of different things, like count, like the number of credit limits for each person. But I want the average because I know my data has, I think, a lot more women than men. So on a Mac, it's just a little I sign down here, and you're set, whereas PC is 2 things. You have to do drop-down menu, value field settings, and then all you got to do is change this to average. You hit OK. Right, and ta-da! Right, now it tells you, right, the average credit limit for all the men and the women, right, were these. And you can format these to be $ signs as well if you want. And think of how long that would have taken you normally. So I might have had to have sorted my data or filtered it, then done the average command, copy, paste in a table. And then do the same thing with the man, copy, paste in a table. And let's say I wanted more than that. Let's say I wanted it gender, but I also wanted it broken down by, I don't know, marital status. That would take me like double the amount of time. And I don't want to do that. What you can do is, we'll take marriage, also drag it down to rows, and now it splits it. So now you have females, married, and single. And you have the total amount for them as well. And so you have like the total for all the women, and then you have it broken down by married and single. And again, you can do the same thing with these as you have in the past. Like I only want 2 decimals because it's supposed to be dollars, and put a dollar signs there. You can do that, which is really cool. And so whenever you create a pivot table, a lot of people are like, oh, how the hell do I get back to that thing? So you can click on a number in here, and whenever you have these, you should see pivot table analyze and design and all that stuff. These two like show up. So that's sort of a really easy one to do. Let's say you don't like this format. There's a couple different things that you can do. So you can go to design, and like if you don't like the colors, change the colors up here. You can change like banded rows, banded columns, stuff like that. I don't think that looks good, so I don't do it. But also like you can change the layout. So you can do it in a compact form, which I think is what it's in right now, or maybe you want it in a table form, so a tabular form. I think this is, again, super ugly. It does add in some filters for us, which is kind of cool, I guess. But again, maybe you don't like the subtotal or something like that. You can go through here and say, don't show the subtotals, and it won't create them. It's kind of up to you to play around with. Same thing here. Like you can pick. Only show it for the rows. Only show it for the columns, blah, blah, blah. I want them all, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do undo because I like the standard way, so I'll do Control-Z or Command-Z if you're a Mac, and kind of back to here. You can add in a blank row, so I may do, Control-Z, like if I want like the men and women maybe separated or something like that, I'm going to put them at the bottom or whatever. But again, it's all personal preference for you. One thing you do have to be really, really careful about is if you change your data, right, so if you change your data, it doesn't update the pivot table. They're not set to automatically. So if I show you this, so I'm going to move this sheet over here. And so let's just look at, I don't know. Yeah, we'll do females, males. I'm just going to change one in here. So I'm going to go back to the demographics. I'll go to the very top. And I wouldn't do this normally, but so I'm going to do this first person, and I'm going to change their credit limit to something crazy so the number changes. So I'm going to change it to, I don't know, 10, I don't know, a massive number. And I hit enter. Now if I go back over here, you'll notice that these tables haven't updated. It's easy to update it though. There's an easy way to sync it. And so if you go to, my thing's cutting out. So if you go back to your pivot table analyze, and you have this refresh button. So if you update the data, you always have to do, you can do refresh, or if you have multiple pivot tables, just do refresh all. So if I do refresh, we'll notice like, whoa, right, I changed this woman right in, and it went crazy. And so I don't want that, so I'm going to undo it, but it's just a common thing to pay attention to is like pivot tables don't update. So I'm going to do Control or Command Z to undo that update, and then Control or Command Z to get rid of that change. And we're kind of set. Another cool thing about pivot tables, let's say like your boss is like, listen, I need all the data for married females. And so again, you could sort and stuff like that, but a nice thing is if you know what you want, right, married females, if you double click on this number, it creates a new sheet and shows you everything that went in to creating that. And so now I essentially have all of the data in a new table for all of the married females. So when you do that, I would rename this, so married females. It's just a quick way to show you. So let's say I also wanted single females. So I'll go back to sheet 2, and I want the single females. And you'll notice female, single. All of these are like that. And so it's just an easy way to get a lot of data quickly if you need it. So way better than like sorting, filtering, and all that shit. Take forever. So I love pivot tables. Some other basics. Let's see. So they work, I think it works really well. So the general insert a, like, like with raw data like this, inserting the figures, I have always thought they are extremely clunky. And I think it sucks. But inside a pivot table, they actually work a little bit better. As long as you're somewhere in this pivot table, you can go back to the insert tab and look at a bunch of different, like you can do your sort of easy sort of figures. Why can't I do a bar chart inside this table? I want a bar chart. Oh, because duh, Gray, I was doing a histogram, not a bar chart. Yeah, so you have a nice sort of bar chart there, and it's dynamics. And if you only wanted men, women, you can close those or open them and do anything like that. Or if you add something, so let's add, I don't know, let's say for some reason we also wanted their average bill amount in there. All right, and so it'll show us both. I think you have to click on it. Oh, it's because we changed it to sum. Let's change, or it's automatically at sum, so let's change this to average. We'll do okay. And it shows them next to one another. All right, so super, super, super cool. So I think that's much better than the standard. And so now some advanced features. Let's do I don't know. Now those are pretty advanced. I'll be completely honest. So let's do average bill, average. Let's get average payment in there as well. So again, I have to make sure. I don't know why it defaults to sum. But we have all three in here. That's not good, right? Just looking at this chart, I'm like, well, here's their credit limit. The orange is essentially how much they utilize, and the gray is how much they pay. Ay, ay, ay. That's not good. That's not good. That's terrible. But let's say, for some reason, like, you wanted to make this a little bit more dynamic. So, like, you wanted to filter it based upon all these things, also in education. So you could put it down here and put education. And again, you can play around with these and sort of where you're putting them in terms of like how they're laid out. But that table is getting kind of ugly quickly. So I can drag this off. But let's say I want the education down here in the filters. So let's say you put it in the filters. It looks like nothing happened. But in actuality, I notice that up here it's like the education level. And then it has a filter. And so you can do this. And you can say, like, I only want to see graduate school. And you hit OK. Everything updates. And then high school. OK. Or let's do multiple. Let's do university and high school. So just like multiple. And it'll add them all up. Another thing you can do. So I'm going to go back. I'll select all. Let's say this was like client names. Or maybe like sales reps. And you wanted an individual report. For each one, or let's say you wanted this individual table or an individual sheet for each of the education levels. One thing you can do here is in the pivot table analyze option. Sorry, I fly. Under here, if you do options, as long as you have a filter in here. So again, I have education and filters, and if I do the drop down to options and I do show report filters. Notice the only thing I have in the filter is education. If you do OK, watch this. You do OK. It creates a different. Hey, what's going on here? It creates a pivot table for like a different sheet for all three of the things that I had in the filter. So here's a table for graduate school. Here's a table for high school. Here's a table for university. And so you don't have to like keep clicking or anything like that. Or if you had 20 different sales reps, you'd have them down by their name there. And like, oh, I need to look at Phil. Like, I'm going to go to Phil's tab or send Phil. Or you want to share the sheet with everyone, they just go find their own tab. They can do that. And it's really, really quick and easy. And so I love that feature that goes into it. Yeah, and so that's kind of it. A lot of it is just playing around with what you want in terms of what to do next. It's sort of just have fun. If you know all of those things, your life will be sort of much easier in the future. Trying to think if we want to do sort of any additional practice. Yeah, let's just do a quick one here. I'm going to keep the pivot table on this sheet. If you want to be done, stop talking to me or stop listening. you can. So let's first select all our data. So I'll do Control A. I don't actually need it because I'm on a table. Duh, Gray. Let's do insert a pivot table, demo table. Let's do existing worksheet. I gotta select where I want to put it. This is probably going to be ugly, but whatever. I'll put it here. I'll do OK. And let's say I just want, what do I want? Let's say I want to look at age and whether or not they defaulted. And so let's change this to average. And this one's currently, again, if it's words, it's counted default. You can, again, play with these if you want. I don't think you do average or anything like that. Yeah, I would stick with count. And then I want to, I don't know, split it by, kind of already did all these. Let's do education. Actually, let's do count instead of count. Let's see if we can do, does it have, it doesn't have percent. We would have to create that. Yeah, I don't think we can do that. That sucks. That's okay. Yeah. So it gives us kind of the breakdown here. I'm just sorry, I'm struggling with this default. That's just counting if anything's in there, and that's not really what I want. So I'm going to remove the field. Let's put average age and average payment amount down here. And again, maybe you want to play around with that. Maybe you want payment amount or something like that on age in a different spot. So again, you can kind of move these around. I again like these in dollars. So let's do dollars. And then age is in years. So I think we should probably do like a whole years. And then I clicked off it. Got to go back here. How do we want to filter it? Let's filter it by, I don't know, gender. All right, so we have them for all the genders. Yeah, and so we can look at it quickly. Like, all right, I only want to look at the men. Or the women. I only want to look at the men. All right, kind of look at it that way. It's kind of hard to see anything in there. Let's click back in it, and that's not what I want. I accidentally created a sheet from there again because I double clicked on the data. Yeah, hell, let's say we want all the men. Actually, let's do all. We'll do okay. And again, pivot table, analyze. Field list. Sorry, gotta click on field list if it goes away. Yeah, so, and marital status. Again, we can kind of do whatever we want. Let's insert a graph. So let's insert, again, you can kind of play around. Let's see, a 2D pie chart, something like that. Again, I left it as the sum of the average payment. Come on, Gray. And so, let's do this, value field settings, average, okay. Yeah, but now you have a sort of this dynamic graph that you can kind of play around with. And again, if you want a report for all of the genders, all you got to do is you have the filter in there, which is what you want. But if you go to your power pivot, or your pivot table analyze, do the options, and then show report filters, and then for the gender. And so then we have male, female. I don't know why it doesn't keep the picture with us. I wish it would, but... All right, that's it. That's as advanced as I can take you. I'm sure there's even more stuff that there's out there, but it's kind of up to you. Like, notice we have a bunch of different sheets at the bottom now, so it is important to not just like randomly click on things and try to go back to them. But overall, I think this is a great start, and you'll really be a step above any of your peers if you can do any of this. If you have questions, always feel free to reach out to me or anyone on the tech team. Have a great day.